Welcome back. Today, we're taking a deep dive into a case that's, frankly, deeply unsettling.
It really is. We're looking at Austin Harrouff,
Yeah.
just 19, a college student down in Florida back in 2016.
And the events surrounding him are, well, shocking. A violent double homicide and then an attempt at cannibalism. It's hard to even say.
It is. And the core of it, the real unsettling part, is how someone described, as friendly, normal, with a good future.
Right.
How does that person commit such extreme violence? It's baffling.
Exactly. So what we have today are various news reports, articles, and a really quite detailed YouTube analysis from Coffee House Crime. They seem to offer, well, a fragmented picture, but it's compelling.
Definitely. And our aim here is to kind of sift through all that information. Look at the timeline, the possible factors, the questions that still hang over this case.
And we need to be clear, we're sticking to what the sources say, trying to present it impartially, especially where there might be different interpretations.
Absolutely. And before we go further, it's crucial we remember the victims here. John Stevens III, 59, and Michelle Mishcon, 53.
A well-liked couple in Jupiter, Florida, just attacked in their garage.
And their neighbor, Jeff Fisher, who tried to help, he was seriously injured doing so. Just incredibly brave.
So brave. Okay, let's set the scene. The night of August 15th, 2016.
Yeah, the Coffee House Crime video gives a good sense of this. It's after 9 p.m., a neighbor is just out walking.
Just a normal evening walk.
Exactly.
Right.
Passes by John and Michelle's place on Cook Lane and sees something.
Wow.
Horrific.
The 911 call from that neighbor, you can find details in the analysis and news reports. It just captures raw panic.
He reported seeing a man eating another man's face.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost impossible to process that image.
Truly awful. And when the police arrived?
It wasn't straightforward. The reports described this intense struggle.
Multiple deputies, right? And a taser.
Yeah, a taser, even a K-9 unit. They needed all of that to subdue Austin Harrouff. Some reports mentioned he had this, abnormal strength.
Abnormal strength. That just adds another layer of strangeness to it all.
It really does. It suggests the extreme state he must have been in.
Mm.
And tragically, while they were securing the scene.
They confirmed the worst.
Yes. John Stevens had died from stab wounds and blunt force trauma. Michelle Mishcon, also blunt force trauma and stab wounds. Attacked right there in their open garage.
Just devastating. And the randomness of it all. That's what's so hard to grasp.
All the sources agree on that. There was no link, no prior connection between Harrouff and the victims.
Not at all.
No. It seems like a completely random, unprovoked attack. They were just at home.
Which naturally leads to the question, who was Austin Harrouff before this?
Well, initially the picture was, pretty ordinary. 19 years old, student at Florida State University.
No criminal record.
None. Family described him as friendly, focused, someone you'd think had a bright future.
But then you look a bit closer, especially online.
Right. His YouTube channels, A Frost and Austy Frosty. News reports picked up on these.
And that bio on the A Frost channel, it's just chilling now.
I've got a psycho side and a normal side. I've lost my mind. Help me find it.
Wow. I mean, reading that after the fact.
It's incredibly disturbing. And the video content itself, it wasn't just standard fitness stuff.
No. What else was there?
Well, yeah, bodybuilding, weight loss talk, sure. But also these, rambling comments. Strange personas he'd adopt, different accents.
Accents? Like what?
The Coffee House Crime video mentions one where he's talking about weightlifting persistence with a Russian accent, another doing a bodybuilding pose with a British accent,
Okay, that's unusual.
and then an agitated rant about chest exercises and some music he made. The analysis described it as kind of restless and tense, no time for sleep or play.
It paints a picture of maybe some inner turmoil, even before things escalated.
Possibly. And then there's the video, Why I Don't Do Roids. It all adds up to this sense that something wasn't quite right,
Yeah, definitely unsettling. But, like you said, strange YouTube videos don't make someone a killer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's the context,
Yeah.
especially when you look at the week before the attack.
Okay, this is where things apparently get really bizarre.
Yeah, the Coffee House Crime analysis, plus his mother's statements to police.
Yeah.
They detail this rapid escalation.
Like what specifically?
Okay, so there was this sudden urge to be extremely generous, over-the-top generosity.
Oh, yeah.
Then intense paranoia. He was barely sleeping, waking up frozen, terrified, convinced a demon was there.
A demon. Wow. Did his friends notice anything?
They did. They apparently commented he was acting really unusual.
And his last YouTube video, posted about 8 days before, You said he seemed hyper.
Hyper and manic, yeah.
I
That's
get
how the analysis described it.
Mhm.
Then, just days before the killings, at his job,
He was training to be a dental assistant, right?
yes, and his behavior there got really erratic. Started talking to patients about God, claiming he felt like Jesus.
Like Jesus. Okay, that's a major red flag.
A huge one. And performing some kind of water ritual on the dental instruments.
Mm.
Believing songs on the radio had messages directly from God for him.
It sounds like a complete break from reality was happening.
It really does. After that episode at work, he apparently claimed he saw the devil, flushed whatever drugs he had, went to a friend's house, but the paranoia just continued.
And that final YouTube video, he talked about not needing drugs?
Yeah, it was titled something like, What I'm About in Bodybuilding. He talked about believing in himself, not needing drugs, but he also said he felt totally drained, mind racing. It sounds contradictory.
So manic energy one moment, drain the next, but the mind just won't stop.
Exactly. And the strange beliefs just kept getting more intense.
Like what else?
Believing he had a special connection with animals, that he was getting their power.
Their powers.
Yeah. Thinking tap water at a restaurant was the fountain of youth. Seeing the devil in a Dodge Ram truck logo.
It's just escalating so quickly.
It is. He slept on his sister's floor holding their dog, supposedly for protection. Felt like he was half dog, half man during a run.
Half dog, half man.
And then, maybe most concerningly, he went to a gun show with his dad. Despite feeling paranoid, he bought knives and a machete.
He bought weapons while feeling paranoid. That's deeply worrying.
And had this bizarre thought about needing to eat a snake to gain power over the devil.
Eat a snake? This is just a terrifying spiral. What about his family, his mother?
Well, his mother told police he'd been saying he felt he had superpowers, that he was here to protect people.
Protect people? But did she think he was dangerous?
She apparently stated she didn't believe he was a danger, said he had no history of mental illness or heavy drug use, though. There was also that earlier 911 call she made where she mentioned he might have a pocket knife. So it's complicated.
It sounds like maybe the full picture wasn't clear or perhaps wasn't fully acknowledged.
It's hard to say. There was also an argument with his family at a restaurant the night of the attack, right before he stormed off. And this really weird detail about him drinking cooking oil at his mother's house.
Drinking cooking oil? Why?
It's not clear. Just another piece of the increasingly bizarre behavior.
And what did Harrouff himself say about that night?
His account, as reported, described feeling unreal, hearing voices, one saying, I am sin.
I am sin.
Yeah. And then running, feeling like the stars were leading him somewhere, led him to the victim's house, seeing a figure of darkness in their garage.
It sounds like he was describing a completely psychotic state.
It certainly points that way, which brings us to the whole mental health versus substance use question.
Right. Because initially everyone suspected drugs, didn't they? Flocka, bath salts, something exotic, given the behavior.
Absolutely. That was the immediate assumption. But the early tests, they came back negative for cocaine, marijuana, meth.
Really? So not the common drugs.
No. And later, more specialized tests were also negative for flocka and other hallucinogens.
So maybe not drugs after all, but he did mention steroids in a video, saying they weren't for him.
Right. But then, the online searches. That's where things get really dark.
What did they find?
Searches in the days and weeks before. Things like how to relax my mind, auditory hallucinations when falling asleep.
Okay, that shows awareness of something being wrong.
Definitely. But also, what exactly is hell? How to sell my soul to the devil.
Whoa.
I think I'm going crazy. How to know if you're going crazy. Hearing things in my sleep. Obsessive thoughts. It's like a timeline of someone realizing they're losing their grip.
That's heartbreaking, actually, and terrifying. Did they find anything else?
Yeah, older text messages.
Sure.
From 2015, 2016, indicating he'd blacked out sometimes, even mentioned trying to get illegal mushrooms about 6 days before the murders.
Okay, so maybe not flocka, but there was some history, or at least interest in other substances, alongside clear signs of mental distress.
Exactly. It's a muddy picture. Ultimately, the mental health experts who examined him,
What did they conclude?
they determined he was severely mentally disturbed, experiencing mood and thought disorders that culminated in a psychotic break.
Meaning?
Meaning, in their view, he was legally insane under Florida law at the time, unable to distinguish right from wrong or understand the consequences of his actions.
But the prosecution didn't agree.
No, they pushed back. They pointed to those internet searches, suggesting maybe he was looking things up to fake insanity.
Ah, okay. Trying to build a defense.
That was their argument. They felt that even with delusions or paranoia, it didn't automatically mean he didn't know that killing someone was wrong.
So a real conflict there between the psychiatric assessment and the prosecution's view.
A major one, which led to a long legal process.
6 years, right, before the trial.
Yeah, 6 years of back and forth. Finally, a non-jury trial in November 2022.
And Harrouff pled not guilty by reason of insanity.
He did. And based on those mental health evaluations, the judge accepted the plea.
So no prison sentence?
No. Instead, he was committed to a secure psychiatric hospital, indefinitely.
Meaning he stays there until...
Until doctors and a judge agree he's no longer a danger to society. There's no set release date.
How did the victims' families react to that?
They were strongly against it, understandably devastated and angry.
They felt it wasn't justice.
Their view, as reported, was that this was about drug addiction, not insanity, and that he essentially got away with murder. You can absolutely see why they'd feel that way. The pain is unimaginable.
It's hard to reconcile the legal definition of insanity with the sheer horror of the crime and the family's loss.
It truly is. You know that term, severely disturbed mental state? It really means a fundamental break with reality. Perceptions, thoughts, reasoning, all profoundly distorted.
Did Harrouff ever express remorse?
He did, apparently. In an interview with Dr. Phil, he expressed remorse and apologized to the families.
I imagine that offers little comfort, though.
Likely very little. It can't bring back John and Michelle, who, by all accounts, were wonderful people, loved in their community. We really have to pause and just acknowledge that loss, the community impact.
Absolutely. This whole case just leaves you feeling profoundly uneasy.
It really does. That gap between the normal kid image and the horrific violence, it's just a chasm.
And it throws all these complex things into sharp relief, doesn't it? Mental health, substance use, what insanity means legally versus, morally or emotionally.
The different viewpoints in the case itself show how incredibly hard these things are to untangle, especially after such a senseless tragedy.
So maybe the final thought for our listeners as we wrap this up.
Yeah, looking back at all those warning signs, the bizarre behavior, those desperate internet searches.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Were there points where intervention might have been possible? Could something have been done differently?
And what does this incredibly disturbing case tell us about recognizing a mental health crisis? About responding before it reaches a point of no return?
It's a heavy question, but maybe it highlights how vital it is to, seek help if you're struggling and maybe be more aware, more supportive of people around us who might be going through things we can't see.
Absolutely. A crucial takeaway from such a tragic story.